cigarettes, the unfiltered truth. More than 400,000 people's lives are cut short in our country every year. I've personally seen several people struggle to breathe as a result of emphysema or lung cancer. Because I saw people go through this process, I decided to do some research on smoking and its effects on the health of an individual. Smoking a cigarette or submitting yourself to secondhand smoke may not seem like that big of a deal. However, those that smoke expose themselves to greater risk for developing preventable diseases. Over the next few minutes, I would like to give you a little bit of information about the following. People die every year from diseases that could have been prevented. Smoking increases your risk of developing preventable diseases, and people who submit themselves to secondhand smoke are also at risk for developing preventable disease. So people die every year from diseases that could have been prevented. According to the Centers for Disease Control and their article Leading Causes that was put out on December 31st of 2009, the number one leading cause of death in our country was heart disease. The second leading cause of death for the year was cancer, and the third was stroke. People who smoke increase their risk of developing smoking-related diseases. I just gave you the top 3 causes of death in our country, and according to Kiyoshian's book, Everything You Need to Know About Smoking, all 3 of those, heart disease, cancer, and stroke, can be a result of smoking. If those 3 aren't enough, Kiyoshian also tells us that chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and other chronic lung diseases can be caused by smoking. In addition to causing disease, Benner tells us in Smoking Cigarettes, the Unfiltered Truth, that smoking will generally cause any disease that you have to be made worse. Now, people who submit themselves to secondhand smoke are also at risk for developing preventable disease. Exposure to secondhand smoke, according to Balkin's book, Tobacco and Smoking, can cause irritation to the lining of the lungs. Kiyoshian tells us that non-smokers who are exposed to secondhand smoke can develop lung cancer. And Balkin tells us also that ear infections, wheezing, coughing, bronchitis, and emphysema are all risks that children who are exposed to secondhand smoke those risks are increased for them. And he also tells us that the exposure for children begins before they're even born, when they're still in the womb. So what do we do with this information? Well, my suggestion would be to protect yourself from preventable disease. You can do that by avoiding smoking, by quitting smoking if you're a smoker, and also by avoiding being around secondhand smoke. So far today, we've learned that people die from preventable disease every year, that people who smoke increase their risk of developing preventable disease, and that people who submit themselves to secondhand smoke are also at risk for preventable disease. We also learned that many preventable diseases can be caused by smoking or being around those who smoke. So to prevent yourself from unnecessary risk, do not smoke or submit yourself to secondhand smoke in any way. My challenge to you today is to choose not to take the chance of using tobacco and risking your health and possibly even your life.